What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the interweb? This week's video is kind of different. We're kind of be tackling a hot topic that's going on right now. Our health aficionado in the United States, RFK Jr, is going around saying video games cause violence, and this is because over the last little bit, about the last year and a half, 2 years, in the United States, if you haven't been following, we've had some major issues with gun violence. Obviously, we got school shootings. Those happen every single day here. The big one most recently, there was a anti-religious person that went in and just shot up a bunch of kids. Incredibly sad. Should have never happened. But their bullet casings had video game slogans on them. Or not video game slogans, but like quotes referencing like Doom and stuff. It had like rip and tear on it. Which, if you didn't know, that's the title of the theme song for almost all the Doom games. But there's no way to prove that that was a reference to Doom and not just what a bullet does. And then we've also had our politicians over the last little bit. A lot of them have been terrorized, people's broken into their homes, some have even been killed. And then as of last week, we had political commentator Charlie Kirk got murdered in broad daylight. And this is more or less just a culminant of everything bad that has happened in the United States up till now. However, our politicians are looking for a finger to point, they're looking for someone to blame. And right now, that just happens to be video games. Now, before we get into too deep of this video, this isn't the first time this has happened. Back in the 1990s, the politicians went after rock and roll, and then they tried to go and say they were going to ban it because it was causing violence. So they invite Twisted Sister to testify in Congress. They didn't know their Twisted Sister was highly intelligent, highly educated. They come in, they walk circles around the politicians. They win the court case. Although we still have, rock and roll music to this day. Fast forward about 10 years, those same politicians attack video games, invite devs and engineers to come talk, and who would have guessed devs and engineers are highly intelligent people. So they once again win, and then video games, we still have them to this day. And then now here we are 20 years later, talking again, do video games cause violence? Our politicians are being insane. There is not a single legitimate study that connects violence in video games to mass shooters or committing acts of violence in the real life. Now, there is a correlation that the people who do these things also play video games. However, in those same studies that correlate that, they also correlate that they listen to rap music. They also correlate that they do drugs, that they drink alcohol, that they watch violent movies. There's all these things that come around that you can't really pinpoint anything. But all these studies have one thing in common. The main, essence of a mass shooter, of someone who commits an act of violence that is terrible, no matter how big or how little it is, they have mental issues. They have some type of anger issue. They have something wrong with them that was not addressed. Look, I was born and raised in Appalachia. If you're not from the United States, so they do have a really big audience that's not from the United States. Appalachian Mountains, this is pretty much the most redneck, most outback part of the United States you could think of. Everybody has guns. Even though I live in Texas right now, which is a very progressive state in comparison to Appalachia, I got a gun under my pillow. I got a gun in my bathroom. I got a gun in my back room. I got a gun behind my PC over there on my desk. I have a gun in my car. And I pack this hunting knife everywhere I go, just in case something crazy were to happen. And maybe it's just paranoia, but it's better to be prepared than sorry in the United States. But the point being, this knife has never hurt nobody except for me. That's a whole story on and of itself. And those guns have never hurt nobody. None of the guns I've ever been around in my life has ever hurt anybody, because there's never been a reason to have to pull them, shoot them, or whatever else. They are just there to protect you. Again, that gun is in the front seat of my car. It's been there for 3 years. It has never drove out and shot nobody, and it's never going to, because guns don't cause violence the same way video games do not cause violence. I have played, as you can see here, this is a small portion of the collection, but like Wolfenstein 2, the collector's edition right here, Sonic the Hedgehog, Yakuza, Indiana Jones, like Resident Evil. Like, none of these massively violent games has ever caused me to commit an act of violence, nor have they ever committed anybody into an act of violence. Every single shooter leaves a manifesto almost, and every single shooter's manifesto has one of 3 things in common. For example, one of those 3 is race-based shootings. We've seen that with Dylan Roof, I think that was his name, that shot up that black church in the South. We've seen it with Nicholas whatever his name was, that shot up the Walmart in El Paso, which is where I currently live now. And we have seen people go into Asian places and shoot them up as well. Now I'm not gonna beat around the bush. A lot of you guys know this, some of you don't. I'll just, run through it real quick here. My mother is white. My father's part ethnic minority and Hawaiian. My birth name was Alexios Jackson. My dad changed it later on to Alejandro Cruz. I am in the process of changing it back to Alexios Jackson right now, just waiting on the judge to review it. So I've had my fair share of, ethnic slurs thrown at me. Number 2, socioeconomic reasons. That's another big one for mass shootings. People will lose their jobs and they'll go shoot up their workplace. People will be down and out on their luck and they'll go do a mass shooting or some act of violent crime just so that they can go to jail, have 3 meals a day and a roof over their head, and healthcare. A lot of people do that. And then number 3, a psychotic breakdown. Now, as you've probably noticed in the background of a lot of my videos that I've done, I have wrestlers, placed up everywhere. Chris Benoit's the most famous, case of someone having a psychotic breakdown and committing an act of violence. In 2006, he killed his wife and his child and then himself. And this has happened several times since then, such as what happened with Aaron Ortiz and Oscar Pistorius, the track star, who somehow got by with it. And in all of these cases, video games has never been a contributing factor. Their manifesto has always been something revolving around the 3 of those. And again, there has not been yet a professional study come out of the United States or the United Kingdom or Japan or China that says video games, yes, they cause violence. That's just not true. And for further proof, let's look at our neighbors in the South. Mexico, specifically Juarez, Mexico, because I live in El Paso, Texas right now. When I look outside, I can see Juarez. It is right there. Now, Juarez is the most dangerous place in North America. They do not have access to violent video games. Mexico is a very poor country. I've been to Juarez. They barely have electricity and running water. They don't know who a Leon Kennedy is. They don't know who a Sonic the Hedgehog is, but they definitely enjoy cutting people's heads off and dissolving their bodies in acid. Not influenced by video games at all. And then furthermore, the most violent and evil times in human history was before video games was even invented. Throw it back to World War II, World War I, and before. There was massive genocides all over the world. Mass killings, mass just crazy shit happening all the time. Video games weren't a thing. This is not something new. This is not something that happened because of violent video games. There has been violent media for thousands of years at this point. I mean, you could even make the argument at this point that the Vikings or the Nordics or the Aztecs or whatever with their stories of the past, they were extremely violent, but those stories did not cause them to be violent. This is just a scapegoat for the politicians right now, at least, to go after so that they don't have to do one of the actual things that would actually solve the problem. They are more or less just kicking, the proverbial bucket down the road. Statistically speaking, if this video gets at least 100 views, then one of you watching this has been a victim or know somebody who's been the victim of gun violence in the United States. And the reason this stuff keeps happening is because the politicians refuse to act on it. Now, for example, socioeconomic is the biggest one, I would say, that has acts of violence that are because of it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what the answers are, because I don't. I'm not a politician. I'm just an engineer who likes making YouTube videos. But what I do know is that video games don't cause violence, and I wanted to put my piece out here before I kind of just get in a, rage tweet about it, because that is something that is very likely to happen, or a rage Instagram post, because oh my god, if you follow me on Instagram, sometimes I go through my story archives and I'm like, wow, I really need to shut the fuck up. I say that every time I go through my story archives. But yeah, guys, rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. He didn't deserve what happened. Neither did those politicians that have been attacked and killed. Neither does those kids that have been killed in school shootings. And neither does anyone else who's ever been a victim of violence in this country. Or really this entire planet. Next week, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled shit posting of video game content. But right now, so many people are talking about this. I just want to say, video games do not cause violence. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, try to, so that I don't see you in the next video.